What we're going to cover today is a little overview of circumnavigation. If you're not familiar, just going over some of the basics of what it is, how to do it. We're going to go over some of those tools and resources that we offer on our website. Just a little overview in case you're unfamiliar with those. And then we're going to do a little bit of a panel discussion with some of our circumnavigators who are completed or close to completing, and just hear a little bit about their experience and some of their lessons learned and tips. And then finally, we're going to go into those breakout rooms and get a little bit of a chance to talk to each other and share our experiences. So I did want to start also by just saying that the Bay Area Ridge Trail is on native land, and if you're calling from the Bay Area and beyond, you are on native land as well. The Ridge Trail passes through the traditional territories that were forcibly taken from the Miwok, Pomo, Wapo, Patwin, Karkin, Chochenyo, Mutsun, Owawas, Temian, Muekma, and Ramaytush-speaking peoples, among others. And they cared for the land long before anyone else did. They and their descendants play vital roles as stewards of the land in the Bay Area. And as circumnavigators, we are visiting a lot of those lands throughout the Bay Area, right? We're covering a lot of land when we go on each section of the Ridge Trail. So each of those areas have a unique history and a unique indigenous community that has a connection to that land. For example, if you've been down to the South Bay at Mount Umunum or Place of the Hummingbird, that is a sacred space for the Amma Mutsun. And so I just want to encourage anyone who is traveling on the Ridge Trail to learn more about the Native communities that whose lands that you're traveling through, and just learn a little bit more about the history and what those communities are doing today to preserve their land, culture, and sovereignty. And just to get you started, in the follow-up email, I'm going to share out a really great video from the Redbud Resource Group about the Wapo tribal members that are working with the California State Parks to restore the indigenous stewardship in the land at Lilikos or Sugarloaf Ridge State Park. So I'll share that video in the follow-up email, but I really encourage you to watch it. So let's see. Just a little bit of an overview of what circumnavigation is. If you're unfamiliar or new to it, it is a journey across every section of the dedicated Ridge Trail. So that's in this map right here, all of the red segments. And today that's about 407 miles. So a lot of land to cover. And there aren't really any, hard and fast rules about what circumnavigation is beyond traveling every section. You can do it hiking, running, horseback riding, biking, or any other kind of way that you want to travel on the trail within the rules of the parks. And you can do it in any order that you would like. Some people like to do it clockwise, counterclockwise. I myself am kind of doing it randomly as I wish. And then there isn't any certain time frame that you have to do it in either. Some people have taken years to do it and are taking their time, and some people really set a goal and want to do it within a time frame. And I just also want to note that because the Ridge Trail is not complete yet, of course we will be adding more and more sections of trail over time. And just because you finished maybe a couple years ago and haven't done the new sections doesn't mean you're no longer a circumnavigator. So we really encourage you to come see the new segments, but you're still valid if you finished a while ago and haven't done the new segments. And just a little shout out here as well. We've got a picture of our first known circumnavigators that we know of, Bob Cowell and Dinesh Desai. They did their circumnavigation back in 1999. And I'm sure many of you, if not all, are probably already on the email list because you heard about this webinar and are part of that community. But in case you aren't on our email list, I really encourage you to sign up. We've got, we always make sure to update on trail progress news. We've got some special events and, of course, tips and resources for circumnavigating. So it's a useful resource. And if you have completed your circumnavigation, I really encourage you to fill out that finisher form that's on the website at ridgetrail.org/circumnavigation. Even if you don't want your face up on the wall of fame or you don't want any swag, both of which are really great and very fun way to celebrate your accomplishment. But even if you don't want those things, it is a really good way for us to know that, how many people are completing their circumnavigation. There's some space for feedback, for input, so that we can provide better resources or different kinds of programming that would be helpful to you. So really encourage you to do that. And thank you, Marie, for putting the link to our webpage in the chat. All right. And next, we're going to go over some tools and resources. So I'm going to hand it over to our trail planning team, Kyvan and Ryan.
So I'm going to go over some of the different tools that we currently have that folks can use and just kind of highlight some different modifications that we've recently made or just things that you can use in your exploration. And then I'll hand it over to my colleague, Ryan Fritz, to go over a new tool that kind of combines a lot of these different features of these different applications and whatnot. So if, yep, thank you. I'm going to share my screen real quick. Cool. So hopefully you can see this, but this is our website. So to get to this trip planning tools webpage, all you would do is go to this maps and tools tab and go down to trip planning tools. Here you will find, all of our different kinds of tools. So I'm kind of going to walk through it as if I was somebody that was trying to get out onto the trail. So the first thing I see is the Planning Navigator, which is a great tool. So if you open that, you would get to this spreadsheet. The spreadsheet has a ton of information on it. And the first thing I would do is just make my own copy. So all you would do is go to File, make a copy to your own Google Drive. So this allows you just to make your own edits, which is helpful for personalized planning and just ease of making it your own. So different things that you can do are just with these little tabs here is go through these little filters. So a new tab that we added to this that folks might not have noticed is this dedication year and last updated year. So say I'm really cool like all of you and I've hiked all of the trails up until 2020 and I kind of want to see what's new. What I can do is click on that little filter tab and click 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023. And this will give me all the trails that were last updated or dedicated since 2020. So this is a great way for you just to filter your view and not have to scroll through a bunch and just be able to kind of keep up with yourself on what different trails are available to you. So you can get it down to that way. And then if you want to add some more filters, like you only want to go to Napa or Alameda counties, you can add that. From here, you can also access just so many different types of tools that we have. So if you happen to want to do Franklin Ridge Ranches, you can click on this map tab and this will take you straight to more details, as well as a PDF map right here that you can download that has really specific details if you're into physical copies. Another thing that we've really been trying to do more is keep up with all trails. So if you go to this All Trails link, All Trails is great for just classic navigation, as well as some user fed information and reviews that are more up to date than we can keep. So you can see this is from 2022, but if you want to help us, write reviews as you go out there just to inform people and make these trails more popular on all trails, that would help folks just get to know the Bay Area Ridge Trail more. Some cool features about all trails is that you can download the trail. So when you're out there, you can follow it turn by turn without having service, as long as you download it beforehand, or if you do have service, you can also just see where you are. Another cool thing about All Trails is that if you go back to this trip planning tools, if you click on this All Trails mobile app and website link, this will give you a whole entire list of all of our different trails. And you can also just filter it out to finding what you really want. So you can copy it to your own list onto All Trails, which is a feature they have. You could see filter, or you can even view a full map here. That would just allow you to spatially see where a lot of these trails are and just kind of feel your way, explore the trail through your computer, which is a really cool tool. Some last things I'll highlight is that you can get the official guidebook if you're really into just having a physical copy. We also have downloadable Ridge Trail route files. So if you have your own mapping app and you want to, and you're savvy with like GIS or Caltopo or Gaia, you can download these GPX and KMZ files so you can edit it yourself. And with that, I'll hand it over to Ryan Fritz to go over our new tool that we'll be having soon.
Thanks, Kyvan. I know we're excited about some of the enhancements that have come from you all, the users, but I'm excited to show a new interactive map that should hopefully combine a lot of these features and make it even easier to go find a trail that you'd like to hike. So this is an ArcGIS interactive dashboard. It will probably be embedded onto our Ridge Trail website. So you'll access it there once we post it. And so what you see in the middle is an interactive map of our Ridge Trail route. And similar to that All Trails map, you can kind of scroll in, you'll start to see some more detail. And then let's say you want to start with Golden Gate Bridge. So you'll click, and we condensed all that information into this little sidebar. So if you want the PDF map, you can get it right here. You can go to the website for full hike details. And then we even have a little embedded All Trails elevation and a link to the All Trails site with more tools. Then let's say you've done this section, you'd like to move to the next one in Marin. You can just click on the map and you'll also see the summary details, elevation, etc. We've also got some other features like campsites that we've put on the map. So you can click on a campsite and get a little summary and a link to maybe reserve a campsite for an overnight hike. And then up top, you have some of the same filters from the Planning Navigator. So if we zoom out, maybe you're looking for a hike of a certain distance, you can use the filter here. Something between 6 and 10 miles, there are your options. And then it also has the dedication year, which in this case refers to the last updated year that Kyvan was showing, where if you want to see the last 4 or 5 years of updates and dedications, you can see it visually that way. Also some other filters. And I think as the Ridge Trail continues to collect data on trail amenities, trail accessibility, we're excited to find ways to incorporate that to our website and our planning tools. So that's it for that. I will pass it back over to Alex.
Thanks so much, Ryan. And then next, I want to go on to our actual panel of our circumnavigators who are on the call today. And maybe we can start some introductions. Joe, if you'd like to go first, do you mind telling me, just introducing yourself, how you use the Ridge Trail, and also kind of where you're at in your circumnavigation journey?
Sure. I started using the Ridge Trail when I was doing, basically trying to run every trail in the Mid-Peninsula Regional Open Space Preserves, and I kept seeing the Bay Area Ridge Trail signs. And then I saw that Chuck Wilson's on here too, and I saw that he did the trail, and I heard what he was doing, so I decided to start it. And I ended up starting about the time there was COVID, and so I ended up doing out and back sections because nobody would give each other rides, and so I decided that I might as well just do a double, and I've been doing it. I haven't finished yet because, as I told people earlier, that when I started, I was, going to check off kind of like I did the Mid-Peninsula stuff, just to get all the trails done and kind of have it as a bucket list thing. And then it had so much fun doing it, I just kind of slowed down, and I've just been enjoying myself going out, doing doubles all the time. And I've been having lots of fun discovering things. Like I thought that the area around Benicia was nothing besides oil tanks. And when I got on the trails, it's beautiful in that area when you get back behind things. And I found that discovering through neighborhoods and everything else. So I've been enjoying it. So that's my introduction. So I think I've got, doing the double, I think I've just checked, I've got like 800 miles of biking and running and hiking, and about 100 of that is bike and the rest of it's on foot. And I've got 34 miles to go.
Awesome.
So that's good.
Yeah.
Next.
Thanks for being here, Joe. Thanks so much. Wendy, do you mind giving a little introduction?
Sure. I'm Wendy. I'm from San Jose, and I have completed the Ridge Trail, and I did it a couple years ago, and now find myself just running back to so many favorite trails, especially when they're beautiful green flowers, everything that's going on right now. But yeah, my journey started and stopped really quick with a injury. And so I had to delay it. I thought it was something I was going to get done in a time frame. And then you quickly realize why and just enjoy every moment. And I also did a lot of I kept in my tracker the Bay Area Ridge Trail official miles and then how many miles did I actually do, which is kind of just fun. But yeah, it's an incredible experience. I was not a single hiker. I learned to be a single hiker. I learned to be out in so many incredible places so close to home. So definitely encourage everybody to get out there and get on the trail and explore everything right here. I've always been a Yosemite hiker and a national parks and this and that. And I can tell you there is a lot of beauty to see right here.
So true. Very impressed every time I go out. Every section has a little something different to offer. All right. And Andy, do you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah. Hey, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to be here with you. I live in Marin County in Fairfax. Circumnavigating, we lived in the East Bay in Berkeley. And this was a bit of a pandemic project. We started our circumnavigation in 2020 with my family. Our kids were 8 and 10 at the time. And gosh, so much to share. The trail is such a special place, and so excited to be on this panel with you all.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Andy. We have a couple other people. I'm trying to get them into the back end of this tool. So we might have some more people joining us as we go. I think, oh yeah, and Sergio, we've got another person joining us. Sergio, if you can unmute, and awesome. Yeah, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sorry, a little technical difficulty.
Good.
Yeah, Sergio Herrera. I started circumnavigating, I think serendipitously. I was just doing every trail in every trail system all around the bay. And I realized I could just connect everything. I didn't even know this was a thing happening until I started to see a lot of Bay Area Ridge Trail signs, right? And then I was like, oh, wow, this is a thing. And after that, one of your, I think it was chairman, Austin McInerney, he did something with another pro cyclist where they circumnavigated, and they showed up in Single Tracks magazine. And I said, I got to do this too, but I got to do it faster than them. So I tried to do that. I learned a lot about the trail at that point, how hard it is to do that fast. And then I've done it in the pandemic, like somebody else described, and I did the double because nobody would drive me out every day to do it. That was during a Pacific Coast Trail Runs event that they set up. So I did that, and I've done it one time again by myself running. So yeah, I love this. This is the most amazing trail system. So, yep.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And Sergio, I think Emma's asking, how fast did you end up being able to circumnavigate?
On a bike, 3.5 days. Yeah, and some of that, clearly you're not supposed to ride the bike in some of the areas, especially way back then. Some of the areas were not even sanctioned as Bay Area Ridge Trail. So it was shouldered bike and running. So bike packing, that kind of thing. So the hardest thing is eating,
Yeah, right. Having to fuel up for those really quick pushes. Great. Well, awesome. I'd like to go around and also hear just what was the most maybe useful tool or strategy that each of you used to kind of plan your outings, figure out where you wanted to go next. Maybe Wendy, we want to start with you if you've got some tools.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm outdated on the tools. I'm liking all the new stuff I'm hearing that you guys are connecting to All Trails and everything. I think it's changed a little bit, but definitely All Trails was huge for me. I became a member and downloaded Trails before I went, which I think is a great thing to do, especially when you're hiking alone. You can really kind of know where you're going, and if you get off trail, figure it out pretty quickly. I'm definitely a Strava user. I had a lot of fun tracking the Ridge Trail on Strava and then using a third-party tool to connect everything that I had done in a visual image, which was really kind of motivating and fun to put on my wall and see where I had to go. But I used the Excel spreadsheet and kind of adapted to my own as my way of officially looking at where am I going next and what have I accomplished. And I would color it in green if I'm done, or, yellow if I'm heading there or whatever. And I would keep a lot of notes. So it was huge. It was fun. It was a motivator. I, bore my family with where I was at, but all of the tools are wonderful and definitely help to keep you on track.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm a big spreadsheet user myself, so I understand the joy of highlighting and keeping track. Yeah. What about you, Joe?
Pretty much the same. The tracker was the one that helped, and you could figure out where to link all the trails together. And then I got the book on eBay, or on basically on not eBay, but I got the book that I looked at for some of the details to figure out where the trailheads were, because and then I use things online as well. But the tools, and then what I'd do is I'd look for campsites near it was in the North Bay that was within a 20-30 mile area of a trail, and then I'd just bounce around from base camping. So
Great. Awesome. Yeah, the guidebook is a really good resource. Even if you like kind of digital tools and things like that, it is really nice to kind of hold it in your hand. It's got great descriptions, beautiful pictures as well. Yeah. Andy, how about you?
Yeah, we hiked it, I guess, 4 years ago, and the tools were super helpful back then, and they clearly have become more evolved and sophisticated. And so like Wendy, we would print off each of the sections from the website and make like a big map and kind of highlight it along the way. Our objective was to hike the whole thing as it's intended, really trying to link together even the sections that are not yet established but proposed. And I used Gaia GPS, GAIA, which is both on a laptop or you can have an app on your cell phone. And that helped me map out sections that were not yet established officially. And in certain cases, I can link together trails that were just not signed or established. In other cases, there's private property, and we had to kind of figure out, okay, here's the roadway that we're going to link through. So that was a helpful tool. The thing that was helpful for us with Gaia, and maybe this is available on all trails, I just don't know, is that the summertime in like the North Bay sections can be really hot and exposed. And so what Gaia was able to provide for us was some overlays or some layers that would give us kind of like historical exposure or shading, so we could kind of be a little bit more sophisticated about the time of year that we chose different sections, or the time of day that we went out to different sections.
Oh, wow. That's cool. I did not know about that. That would be really helpful, especially as we're heading into the hot months. I know I was kind of scrambling to try and get some of those really north sections done soon.
It's available on CalTopo as well, just so most other tools do provide that exposure.
Cool. Awesome. Sergio, what about you? What tools were you using?
Yeah, so the early years that I was touching the trails, I was using everything from Google Earth, creating my own KML files. I remember maybe it was the beginning of REI's.
Oh, Sergio, I think you hit mute on yourself. There you go.
Yeah, so REI had started some of their apps, right? So they had the hiking, biking, and trail running apps. So I was using some of those. I had my first eTrex GPS, and I basically saved a lot of that, and I reused it in subsequent circumnavigations. And the trail's been changing the whole time, right? So I think I remember early years was about 350 sanctioned miles, and then it's grown so much that anytime I've done it, it's been different, right? So
Yeah.
And the tools change, right? The software changes. It's all
Right.
trails has been fantastic throughout the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I think we're getting some background noise. Let's see. All right. Cool. Thank you. And it looks like Ginny has also joined us. Ginny, if you're able to unmute and turn on your camera, we'd love
Sure
to hear a little bit. Oh, there you are.
I can't figure out how to turn on the camera.
Okay.
The camera
No.
doesn't seem to be on.
Okay. No worries. Well, if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself, kind of where you are in your circumnavigation, and if you have any favorite tools that you've used so far.
Okay, well, my name is Ginny, and I've been hiking the Barrier Ridge Trail with my husband, Dave. It's kind of been our project to do. We started in 2015, and we have been hiking very short segments at a time. And when we started off, I had some time, and so we hiked, 3 miles out, 3 miles back, or even less. And we have done this all, I guess, out and back like that for most of the whole trail, and have found intermediate parking places and access trails to be able to do that. So we've only needed one car. We haven't needed a crew to pick us up. And the joy of all that is that we've hiked the Barrier Ridge Trail twice, forwards and backwards. And we have completed our journey, our circumnavigation last September. And we're continuing to hike the new segments as they become available.
Awesome. Great. Well,
In terms of tools, I think we were pretty old school. I use the map feature on the website to pull down a hard copy map, and then I look up the parks that we're going through and get more detailed maps, perhaps topo maps and things like that, and then figure out where to park in order to be able to do this with one car.
Yeah.
The only problem we had was the Palisades Trail, which we did somewhat recently, where we ran out of time. And so we had to take an Uber back to get the car.
Yeah, that one can be a bit of a beast. Well, awesome. Thanks so much for being here and telling us a little bit about your experience. And Chuck Wilson, I also see you've joined. Thanks for being here. No
I was
worries.
going in the beginning, but I didn't realize I had to click a different link. I thought I had the correct link until you sent me one.
Yeah, no worries.
Anyway, I ran it as part of the race at the Together Relay in 2020, and it took me 24 days over 40. I was stopped the first day because of the Point Reyes Woodward Valley fires. Stopped me for 10 days. But it was just a fabulous experience. My favorite trail was the Palisades Trail. I found that was probably the toughest and the most beautiful. For anyone doing it, just realize no matter how many dedicated miles, you're going to run a lot more. There's a lot of times where you're going to have to run out and back. And I guess that I did it by myself. And the reason I could do that was I started using Uber. I started running back to my car, but then I realized I'd be doing 800 miles if I keep running sections and run back to my car to drive to the next segment. So I started running as many as I could in a day, then I'd call Uber. But the problem is that you end up in places where there's no cell coverage. Right. So I added a lot of miles running down roads looking for a cell signal so I could call Uber to take me home, back to my car.
Yeah. Yep, you're either adding miles going back like Joe and having to do each section.
I had 530 miles. I logged them all. logged 530 miles to do 400 miles of race trail
Yeah.
course.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I did also want to just hear, for the listeners on the webinar, what, as something comes to you, feel free to tell us what were some of the kind of like best lessons learned, or like for someone maybe who's just starting out or in progress with their circumnavigation, what was like a good lesson that you learned, and maybe some advice for people who are doing it now? Joe, I think you're on mute.
I'll say
There you
that your ability to do it however you want is kind of nice, whether you want to do it on horseback or running or biking. I decided that I'm going to do every set of things that's on asphalt on a bike, and everything that's on gravel or dirt on the trail. And that was a nice thing to, not have to do anything, any set rules. It's kind of go out and have fun. That was one of my big things to learn.
Nice.
I definitely learned by not being able to get an Uber like Chuck with my daughter on a segment, that I learned to Uber to the finish, or to the start, I should say. Park at the end and Uber to the start. And sometimes that meant that I had to set up the Uber 2 miles from where I was actually going to meet the Uber. And it does work, like that does work, and then drive out there, and then they drove me back to the start. So I knew at the end, when I was exhausted and tired, my car was there. I also, some people have mentioned it, I really encourage you to enjoy the community that you end up in. So I would always go out and find the coffee shop and find a restaurant and like try to, enjoy what was around, because I've never been to a lot like Martinez, like you said, or these towns that I just had assumed driving by on 80 that they were, one thing. You get in there and you're like, this is a really cute, lively little town, and just kind of get to feel the community here in the Bay Area. Being in San Jose, a lot of the hikes being really far up in the North Bay, it's just really neat to kind of see everything that's around, not just the trail.
Yeah, that's great advice. It's, one of those things that'll kind of force you to go to a lot of new places around the Bay Area, some that you maybe have never even thought about going to. So it's a good chance to get to know those communities. Yeah.
I think that's one thing I got out of it. By doing the entire Ridge Trail, it took me to a lot of places I'd never been. So I introduced myself to a lot of parks, and the following year, I went back to many of those parks and ran all the trails, like Santa Teresa. I'd never been there. So I went back the next year, ran all of them, Harvey Bear, Coyote, Lake County Park, and basically a lot of them. In North Bay, I went back to those same parks where the Ridge Trail just takes you on one path through the park. And then I discovered the entire park. By doing it, it introduced me to all these areas I'd never been in.
Awesome. Hi, and we've got David just joined. Oh, I just want to say hi to David really quick, and I'll let him know we've got another circumnavigator on the panel. But Andy, go ahead. What were your lessons learned?
Yeah, I'm just going to offer a couple of lessons learned that are probably fairly obvious, but just from the perspective of hiking with a family and hiking with kids, it's super valuable to have a lot of snacks and to have a mix of snacks. It is the spice.
Trail for like a long period of time. Something very small can be just like a sucking candy, can be a motivator or a distraction, but to have a diversity of snacks
to kind of, match with every craving. And the other piece is, of course, we know like we live in this amazing place that has microclimates and microcultures. Especially if you're planning to go out for a long day, definitely plan for layers. We got one of our most impactful, I think it was in October, and we were in the East Bay, and the forecast, called for and blue skies, and we got caught up on a ridgeline in a hailstorm. Totally ill prepared. So it was definitely one of those experiences where we lived to tell the tale and feel like we doubled up on our
caught by surprise.
Yeah, not what you want to. You don't want to have soaking clothes on a day where you thought you'd be, sitting great with a t-shirt. David, I want to invite you to kind of introduce yourself, and we're kind of going around and saying like, what are our lessons learned, and what kind of advice would you give to a circumnavigator right now? I think you're muted. There you are.
Hi, so I'm David. I started, I guess, 2020. I mean, it was COVID, but it was also when I retired. So I sort of, and I did it mostly out and back. So I did a total of 830 miles. But I liked the fact that it's, I mean, there are tons of trails around, and actually the task of finding one that you like is fun, but it's not something you do regularly. And just having this laid out, you can pick based on the weather or whatever which one you go to, and it was good. I would say in terms of lessons learned, make sure you download your All Trails map. Most of these places do not have cell phones. They may be at the trailhead, but it's very rare that you get a signal all the way through. And I did it on bike, so the descriptions in the book and all just don't really they don't give elevation changes, for example, and so research outside of the book to find out what the not just the distance but the elevation difference. This is for biking as well as hiking.
Right.
And another thing is especially in the winter months, check with the local park as to which trails are closed, because after the winter storms, there are closures, and you drive hour and a half to get there and find that it's closed. So if you're prepared to go to the next one, so I guess Hood Mountain was ended up being one of my favorites, but it was closed when because of a fire when I first tried it, and then went back a couple of years later. So check before you go.
Yeah.
It's
Definitely.
easy to head out, but
right. Yeah, it's parks. There's so many parks that we work with. There's like 75 parks and open spaces that the Ridge Trail goes through. So we can't always know what's going on with every single one of them. So definitely in that Planning Navigator spreadsheet, there's a link to the partner website, and they should have up-to-date trail information. So check before you go. It's good advice. And I want to say hi to Dawn Nolan as well. Thanks so much for joining us. Dawn, do you mind doing a little introduction and giving maybe your best trail advice for circumnavigators?
Sure. My name is Dawn Nolan, and I circumnavigated the Ridge Trail on a bicycle, and I had backpacking equipment on my bicycle, so I did the whole trail in one swipe. And so I linked it up with roads because I was on my bicycle, and I mean I echo a lot of the experiences that people have, and that's experience the place that you're in, because you're in somebody else's neighborhood, you're in somebody else's trails, and it was really interesting to talk to people. I met people while I was doing the Ridge Trail who were responsible for those areas, as far as as docents and such. And, they would share their experiences with the trail, which made my experience, deeper, but also just experiencing the communities, dining in different restaurants and experiencing the community that surrounds the Ridge Trail.
Yeah, it's really great part of the experience. Thanks, Dawn.
There's something I wanted to kind of bring up, and Dawn kind kind of mentioned doing this on a bike and continuous. If you're going to do this, I would call it unsupported, kind of carrying everything to survive the whole time. I mapped out every market and every REI and every sports basement, right? So that I can keep myself fed, and if it's kind cold, I can stop and grab a light jacket or whatever I needed to do. The other thing that I think is really important, and Chuck experienced this during that event that we did, you have to be aware of fire season. I was up on St. Helena at the time, and the fires were basically starting to light up that whole hillside, and I basically had to run down to Calistoga and then get an Uber and go home, which put a gap in my event. But I think it's really important to understand where you are and the conditions around you.
Yeah, as even if you've been in the Bay Area a long time, conditions, seasons are changing a little bit. So it's a good thing to be aware of. I do want to make sure that the participants in here get a chance to kind of ask a little more targeted questions. So I think now I would like to go over to breakout rooms. That's all I have for the presentation. If you have questions, you can always feel free to email us at circumnavigation@ridgetrail.org.